Good morning and welcome to our UU Holton Sunday Service online edition from the Unitarian Parlor in Holton, Maine. We thank you for joining us on this September day, for showing up, and for helping us hold the space, sacred space, for community and mutual support. You are welcome here, one and all. If you have a chalice at home, I encourage you to light yours as well. We light the chalice today for the love of community and friendship, even when apart, and to remind ourselves that light dispels darkness, that love calms our fear, that hope keeps us going. For our moment of centering silence, just take a second to release whatever happens this week, or perhaps earlier this morning. Leave all of that behind you and just be here in your body and mind, resting in this space, here and now. Today's service is on exploring our connection to nature and how that connection changes how we relate to the world around us. Nature is an access point to deeper experience and increased appreciation. Our opening words this morning are from Lifting Our Voices, number 130, written by Elizabeth Tarbox. Come and find me. You won't have to look too hard. Come to where the ocean touches the shore. Find me in the bright light promise of morning on the waves. Look carefully at the bubbles breaking on the wet sand. There I am. Turn over the glistening rock, slippery with its cushion of seaweed. Here I am. Hear the gulls crying news of the endless ocean. That is my news, my voice. Lie with me in the tall green marsh grass. See my footprints in the sand you have walked upon. Do not say I am lost, for you have found me. I am here. Let us go ahead this morning and light candles of joy and concern for those things going on in our world and in our lives. Our first candle is a candle of joy for the early days of autumn. We have apples on our altar this morning from our UU apple tree just outside in our meditation garden. And I must say, I did notice a few leaves changing their color. Just saying. A candle of good fortune, as harvest begins here in the county for potatoes in our gardens as we reap the benefits. Candle of remembrance for comedian Norm Macdonald, who died this week at the age of 61 after a 9-year battle with cancer. Best known for his work on Saturday Night Live, and appearances on the David Letterman show. You could always make us smile. Candle of concern for the continuing coronavirus pandemic. Schools in the Holton area are closed for 2 weeks. Please pray for teachers, staff, students, and families as they adjust and move forward. We are currently at 660,000 COVID deaths in the United States. To heal, we must remember we shine a light in the darkness for those we have lost. And we're lighting a silent candle this morning for unspoken prayers and concerns for our world and for those that we love and know. And we'll take just a few moments for you to make a mental list at home or to write down some names of those you'd like to pray for today and this week. There's also more names listed on our UU support page that you can check out this week. This bowl of sand and candles holds our joy, our hopes, our pain, and joy. In this world of contention, struggle, and yet incredible beauty, we offer our prayers for healing, good health, and sound mind. May all find their basic needs supplied for food, shelter, safety, and basic dignity. May each of us be mindful not only of our own needs, but the needs of others as well. This is our heartfelt prayer on this day. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. For our music selection this morning, we have Holton's own Travis James Humphrey singing one of his original tunes, Waiting for the Sun to Shine.
Staring into the shadows, hope it won't be too long. Staring into the shadows, hope it won't be too long. I'm growing thin on courage, finding it harder to be strong. Staring into the shadows, finding truth and pain. Staring into the shadows, finding truth and pain. Right now I'm cold and broken, but I feel warm and whole again. Whoa, and I'm waiting for the sun to shine. Whoa, I'm tired of hazy half living like this. Whoa, I'm waiting for the sun to shine. Still staring into the shadows, but I ain't feeling quite so blind. Still staring into the shadows, but I ain't feeling quite so blind. Looks like my sight's adjusting. Guess I might take just a little bit more time. Whoa, I'm waiting for the sun to shine. Whoa, I'm tired of hazy half living like this. Whoa, I'm waiting for the sun to shine. Just waiting for the sun to shine. I'm waiting for the sun to shine. Just waiting for the sun to shine.
Last week I joked about using old material collected from my 20 years of being the minister here at UU Holton. I came to the conclusion that if I can't even remember writing it, how many people are going to remember listening to it? Since no one responded to having remembered the reused material from last week, I thought I might be able to get away with it one more time. So here's an old minister's column from several years ago, starting off with a passage from poet Mary Oliver from her collection of selected essays titled Upstream that came out in 2016. No one has yet made a list of places where the extraordinary may happen and where it may not. Among crowds, in drawing rooms, among easements and comforts and pleasures, it is seldom seen. It likes the out of doors. It likes a concentrating mind. It likes solitude. It's much more likely to stick to the risk taker than it is the ticket taker. It isn't that it would disparage comforts or the set routines of the world, but that its concern is directed to another place. Its concern is the edge, and the making of a form out of the formlessness that is beyond the edge. Of this there can be no question. Creative work requires a loyalty as complete as the loyalty of water to the force of gravity. A person trudging through the wilderness of creation who does not know this, who does not swallow this, is lost. He who does not crave that roofless place, eternity, should stay at home. How wonderful that the universe is beautiful in so many places and in so many ways. The universe is full of radiant suggestion. Over and over, in the butterfly, we see the idea of transcendence. In the forest, we see not the inert, but the aspiring. In water that departs forever and forever returns, we experience eternity. As some of you may have noticed, Mary Oliver is one of my favorite writers. And whenever I get a chance, I include one of her poems in my talks. Her love for the natural world and her spiritual insights into the common and everyday have endeared her to many. Her poetry and writings are often associated with Cape Cod, a place and environment she knew and loved so well and intimately. While the poet writes about nature, or the artist paints or photographs nature, nature itself speaks without using words. Nature hints at what lies behind and beyond it. I think that's why hiking, sailing, biking, or just sitting under a tree or laying at the beach is such a restorative experience. Oliver says, the universe is full of radiant suggestion. You can talk about it if you want, but there are better ways to approach that which cannot be approached. As early autumn arrives in northern New England, seek out opportunities to be out of doors. You never know when or where the more than ordinary is about to happen. Today's talk is titled Radiant Suggestion, which you may have noticed is taken from a phrase in the Mary Oliver reading. The universe is full of radiant suggestion. Today's talk is actually a continuation of last week's topic on the two jewels, when we discussed being in nature and not only experiencing nature itself, but also that which is behind it and at the same time beyond it. This is the transcendentalist approach to living a spiritual life, advocated by Emerson, Thoreau, Walt Whitman, Mary Oliver, and others. So, what is radiant suggestion, and how can it be of use in the everyday world in case you don't happen to be an artist, a poet, a photographer, or oft-curious philosopher? Our outline is conveniently provided by Mary Oliver herself in her essay. It's a 4-part outline, radiant suggestion. Point number 1, it likes the out of doors. Point number 2, it likes the concentrating mind. 3, it likes solitude. And 4, it likes risk-taking. Although a relationship with nature can occur inside, it really likes the out of doors. I know we have houseplants inside, pets, food from our gardens in the pantry, nature-inspired artwork on our walls, and sunshine gleaming through windows onto the hardwood floors. But if you want to truly engage nature, you have to go outside. One of the greatest challenges of living in the first quarter of the 21st century is realizing just how out of touch with nature we are. We spend so much of our time in front of screens, sitting behind a desk, working inside of a building, or seeking out an air-conditioned, climate-controlled space, that our lifestyles have become sedentary, nature-deprived, and constricted by our own self-selected choices or circumstances. You have to get outside. Radiant suggestion also likes a concentrating mind. We've become so distracted these days, you name it, the list is truly endless. But to be focused or concentrated on something or anything for 5 minutes is a notable accomplishment. We have so many competing distractions vying for our attention. In mindfulness practice, the practitioner takes note of each thought, sensation, or emotion that arises during the practice period. You're not trying to control, avoid, or change anything. You are just a careful and astute observer trying to experience what is happening without getting distracted, overcome by boredom, or falling asleep in your chair. The concentrated mind stays alert and looks closely at what is going on, inside and outside, seen and unseen, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. Radiant suggestion also likes solitude. Solitude creates space for something original or creative to emerge. This is closely aligned with point number 2, directing our attention to what is right there in front of us. In solitude, the open space allows the mind or consciousness to operate freely. Having eyes, you can see. Having ears, you can hear. The world of nature or the world of form is suddenly radiant, or perhaps suggestive of radiance. And what was once ordinary is no longer so. A tree is no longer just a tree. The sky is more than just what is above your head. Well, you say, this is an odd way to go about your day. But this is where the risk-taking comes in. It is an unusual or unconventional approach. If you stick to safe and conventional models, you won't be inconvenienced by the unspeakable, the unknowable, the mystery that cannot be named or harassed by babbling poets. But as for me, the radiant suggestion of such things is found in the most unsuspecting of places, and every time I go out the door or head down the trail or end up in a friend's backyard, I find it right there. I'd like to share a story about the world's shortest sermon. And no, it is not one of my sermons, though I am trying to get better at that. This is a famous sermon given by the Buddha on a mountain one day in front of his followers in India. As you can imagine, the crowd was excited, anticipating what the wise teacher was about to say. Suddenly, it was quiet, and the Buddha just stood there without saying a thing. He was simply holding a flower. The crowd kept waiting for him to say something, but the Buddha continued to calmly hold the flower. The crowd started to get uneasy, wondering what was going on, when one of his followers stepped forward. His eyes met the Buddha's eyes, and he smiled. He got it. End of sermon. The world's shortest sermon. So what just happened? I had a flower on the altar this morning, one of our begonias from the front walk leading up to church. And if you can zoom in on that a little bit, Christoph, you'll see a calm and beautiful begonia. The flower is one form in nature out of thousands. It could be anything. Each form exists in itself, but it also contains a radiant suggestion of something that is behind it that you cannot see, and beyond it which you cannot comprehend. Each form arises from source and will return to it at some point in the future. But for right now, it is here. It exists in itself, but is connected to everything else, because everything else arises from the same source, even you. If you look closely at the flower with a concentrated mind, you can see everything in the universe. And you can connect with everything in the universe. It is not that different than you. If you can see that, if you can see the flower and the radiant suggestion of what is beyond it, you can see the spiritual wonder of everything in this world. You see the flower and you smile. In closing, a poem by Mary Oliver, as she shares an example of this new awakening. It's titled Mindful. Every day I see or I hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leads me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant. I speak of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light, the light of the world, the oceans shine, the prayers that are made out of grass and the colored leaves. I give you my best on this day. May you be well and live well. And now, as we extinguish the chalice, may our lives be reflections of the beauty, peace, and joy that is possible in this world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways and until we meet again. Amen. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for the UU Holton Sunday service. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Practice kindness, keep your attitude positive, and look out for those having a difficult time. I want to thank our cameraman, Christoph, for filming today's service, and Ben Carmichael and Board Barista for handling our production details. Have a good rest of your day, everyone, and we will see you next time.
That's a wrap.